Hello there, you're watching Channel News Asia tonight. The top stories this hour. Saudi forces stormed the Russian airliner, ending the hijack, but some innocent lives are lost in the process. India's arms bribery scandal deepens. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee decides to address the nation on television. And US spy satellites spot a new Chinese missile base close to Taiwan. Observers say this could impact upcoming arms sales by Washington to Taipei. But first, the hijack drama at Saudi Arabia's Medina airport has ended at the cost of 3 lives. Saudi forces stormed the hijacked Russian plane several hours ago, freeing all hostages on board the Nukovo Airlines jet. The hijackers were arrested. Russian and Saudi Arabian officials have confirmed that 3 people, a hijacker, an air stewardess, and a passenger were killed. It's believed that Saudi forces killed the hijacker after he had slit the air stewardess's throat. Saudi officials said they decided to proceed with the raid after the hijackers threatened to blow up the plane. They added that Moscow had given the green light for the attack. One of the attackers has been identified by an AFP correspondent as Supyan Arsayev, the brother of a former Chechen interior minister. Early reports had said that Saudi authorities had refueled the plane in preparation for it to take off.
Security forces encircled the plane even as tough negotiations to secure the release of passengers and crew continued on Friday after breaking down overnight. At least 174 people were on board the Moscow-bound plane when it was hijacked, Turkish media reported 30 minutes after taking off from Istanbul's international airport and forced to fly to Medina, Islam's second holiest city. Shortly after the plane landed, the attackers freed some 45 hostages, including a flight attendant stabbed by the hijackers. According to Turkey's transport minister, the hijackers were armed with knives and claimed to have a bomb. A Chechen envoy said the leader of the hijackers was a former interior minister of Chechnya, and that his aim was to turn the world's attention to Chechnya and encourage international intervention in the region's problems. There are conflicting reports as to who masterminded the hijacking. A statement by the office of Chechen President Aslan Maskhadov said the hijackers wanted Russia to end its campaign against the rebels in the breakaway province of Chechnya. It also said the attackers had a tape which could prove human rights violations committed by Russian troops, which they wanted aired. But Chechen leaders denied having anything to do with the hijacking, the 5th from a Turkish airport since 1998. Moscow has long accused Turkey of supporting Chechen rebels, and both sides had recently signed an agreement to cooperate against terrorism.
India is awaiting a television address by Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee over the arms bribery scandal that has rocked his coalition government. Mr. Vajpayee is expected to begin his speech in about an hour from now. His Bharatiya Janata Party-led government is reading after a string of public figures, bureaucrats and army officers were secretly filmed, apparently taking money from journalists of an internet website, thehelka.com, posing as arms dealers. Defense Minister George Fernandes resigned on Thursday night after coming under heavy pressure from opposition parties and even partners in the ruling coalition. Mr. Vajpayee's coalition government held a meeting this evening. And Channel News Asia's India correspondent Seema Gupta joins me now with the latest. Seema, the meeting that you referred to earlier this evening must have come to an end by now. What is the outcome of that meeting?
Well, the ruling National Democratic Alliance, which met this evening, has ruled out resigning altogether, Shankar, saying that the government has the mandate to rule for 5 years. Now, only one major decision was taken, and that was to ask the sitting Supreme Court judge to inquire into this bribery scandal. Now, this was revealed to the media in a short interview by George Fernandes, who had resigned as defense minister just yesterday. And Mr. Fernandes also seemed to have contradicted his own party members who had called for the resignation of those PMO officials. Well, he said that no such demand was made in this meeting. Now, on top of that, the NDA also voiced faith and confidence in Mr. Fernandes as the convener of the alliance. And apparently the Home Minister, Mr. Advani, even predicted that once the inquiry that has been put forth is over, he is sure that Mr. Fernandes may just be defense minister once again. So really, Shankar, it seems as if the coalition is sticking together after this meeting, and there will be a cabinet meeting as well just to ratify what has been decided, after which the Prime Minister, as you said, will be giving his scheduled address to the nation. So it seems as if the events in the last 3 days has definitely had a detrimental effect, though, on the stature of the government as far as the Indian public is concerned. So it will be interesting to see what Mr. Vajpayee will say to try and engender some kind of confidence. Of course, the Prime Minister itself seems to have come out all right so far. According to one opinion poll, he does still have an overwhelming support of some 70% of Indians. So really, all eyes, I guess, will be on this scheduled address, which is in about an hour. Shankar.
Well, Siva, so what you're saying is the one concrete result of that meeting is perhaps the setting up of an inquiry committee to be headed by a sitting Supreme Court judge. Now, will the opposition be satisfied with that independent probe?
I really don't think so. Clearly, by the fact of what they've been doing in the last 3 days, I mean, they've stormed Parliament 3 days in a row, asking for this resignation, saying that they don't have the moral right to do this. They're not going to take this sitting down, I don't think so. And it will be interesting to see the tactics that the NDA is going to use against that. The Congress Party will probably, the opposition Congress Party will probably be deciding what action to take over this weekend. They're having their plenary meeting in Bangalore, and obviously the Tehelka.com expose will be a main highlight of the event. Now, on top of that, they're not just one grouping of the opposition, so to speak. Several left-wing and secular parties have also now gotten together to plan an alternative government on the assumption that this current one would fall. At this stage, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The NDA seems to have come out strongly after this meeting. But I'm sure these two groups, as well as most of the Indian public, will be looking to see exactly what it is the Prime Minister will be saying when he addresses the nation in about an hour. Shankar.
Seema Gupta, thank you very much. Correspondent from India there on the latest on the arms bribery scandal, and just before the Prime Minister decides to address the nation on television. China has reportedly completed a second missile base, and according to the Washington Times, a US spy satellite spotted a second base in the past 2 weeks, and it lies some 200 kilometers across from Taiwan. In response, Taiwan has warned China of the grave consequences of using force. Mr. Lin Chongpin, Vice Chairman of Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, said resorting to military action would be counterproductive. News of the new Chinese base, which is said to house medium-range missiles, comes just as the Bush administration is considering its annual arms sales to Taiwan. And analysts say the news could give ammunition to some in Washington to advocate urgent sales of advanced weapons to Taiwan.
It's that time of the year again when Washington decides what arms it will or will not sell to Taiwan. At the top of Taiwan's shopping list, advanced weapons that would defend the island against medium-range missiles. The Pentagon declined to confirm the Washington Times report of China's newly completed second missile base, citing restrictions on discussing intelligence matters. But officials were certainly aware of the possible implications.
It's something we monitor very carefully. It's certainly within their rights to do that. We would hope that the modernization efforts they have underway are not destabilizing to the region. That would be something that would be an adverse result of their modernization efforts in that region. But it's certainly an element. Their modernization is an element of our thinking as part of the overall Taiwan Relations Act. And as you know, we are committed to the legitimate defense needs of Taiwan. So it's all part of a very complicated mix that we try to watch very carefully.
You can't comment on whether there's evidence of a new missile?
Sure I can, I'm sorry.
The Washington Times also reported that a third missile base was located further north. China's foreign ministry, which has said Beijing will invade Taiwan if it declares independence, has denied the Washington Times report, saying it was fabricated. Taiwan is expected to feature when U.S. President George W. Bush meets China's top foreign policy official, Tian Chi-chen, in Washington next week.
The Indonesian president sacks another minister belonging to one of the parties seeking his ouster. More on that story in just a moment. You're watching Channel News Asia tonight. Indonesian President Abdurrahman Wahid will insist he's innocent when he replies to a parliamentary censure over 2 financial scandals. And this is according to the Defence Minister, Muhammad Mahfoud. Mr. Abdurrahman has until May to respond to the censure handed down last month. If the House of Representatives is not satisfied with his explanation, it can issue a second censure, which could pave the way for the President's impeachment. Meanwhile, it seems Mr. Abdurrahman is trying not to let his political enemies get the better of him. Today, Friday, he dismissed Forestry Minister Nurma Mudi Ismail, a member of the Justice Party, which is seeking his ouster. The President also has strong support in some quarters. The 40 million-strong Nahdlatul Ulama has threatened more mass demonstrations in Jakarta if his enemies continue to try to oust him. Indonesia's biggest Muslim organization also warned that continued political brawling could trigger more bloodshed and prompt the military to seize power. The United States intends to pay equal emphasis to trade in the Americas and in Asia, says Singapore's Trade and Industry Minister. Brigadier General George Yeo said this would create a broader framework for trade liberalization in the Pacific. He was speaking to reporters after a 4-day visit to Washington, where he met President George W. Bush's economic advisor, Lawrence Lindsay, and Trade Representative Bob Zoellick. General Yeo's assessment is that the new Bush administration is on track in its engagement with Asia. Joanne Lee, who is covering the Washington visit, has the story.
After 4 days of meetings on Capitol Hill, General Yeo's anxieties have eased. He'd come to Washington concerned that the new Bush team might send out wrong signals to Asia, but he said he'd been reassured.
I feel very comfortable about the direction the new administration is moving on the global trade agenda, on APEC, and on Southeast Asia. I had some anxiety about US-China relations, but having spoken to a number of senior leaders in the new administration, I feel more at ease.
On the trade front, he said there was much support for the US-Singapore Free Trade Agreement and that he's hopeful it will be concluded by year-end. In fact, he revealed that the new US Trade Representative, Bob Zoellick, intended to negotiate it in parallel with a similar pact with Chile. This, said the minister, will show the region that the US was interested in a broader framework of free trade in the Pacific. General Yeo is scheduled to visit Chile next month. On US-China relations, he said Chinese Vice Premier Tian Chi-chen's visit to Washington next week was crucial, but he sensed that talks will be constructive, both sides anxious to make China a card-carrying WTO member as soon as possible. There were many in the new Bush team who knew how to handle China, he said, adding that it was possible for significant advances before the APEC summit in October. As for Southeast Asia, General Yeo said there were plans for a high-level interagency group to monitor Indonesia, and that may help influence IMF policy on the country. Minds, he said, were already focusing on strategic engagement in the ASEAN region.
Even as the new White House administration grapples with pressing domestic issues like the federal budget and tax cuts, the new president's staff still managed to reassure General Yeo that active engagement in Asia was very much part of Mr. Bush's foreign policy. And they said U.S. interest in Asia was not just going to be Sino-centric. Joanne Lee, Channel News Asia in Washington.
A means to combat the menace of mosquitoes has been found in Singapore. It's a new trap that offers an environmentally friendly alternative to fogging with chemical pesticides, which also kills beneficial insects, such as butterflies and ladybirds. The device lures mosquitoes to their death, fooling them into thinking they're heading for a juicy human.
On the surface, the mega catch trap looks like a harmless black plastic bird cage, but underneath it is the end of the line for mosquitoes.
It attracts the mosquitoes using initially a release of CO2, which is very similar to the release of CO2 from humans, birds and animals. It has a heat source that enables the mosquitoes to be attracted there in the same way that they're attracted to humans, animals and birds.
The carbon dioxide can be detected by mosquitoes from 30 meters away. Once the mosquitoes or even other biting insects such as sandflies are close to the trap, a fan sucks them into a catch bag or a container of water where they are drowned. The trap is particularly tailored for hot, humid climates, which breed common mosquito species that cause malaria or dengue fever. It's easy to operate. It runs on mains power or batteries, comes with a canister of carbon dioxide gas, and is programmable. Mega Catch, which is being patented, took 2 years and about $625,000 to develop.
A rare collection of over 100 dinosaur footprints has been made on a hill slope in the northwest Chinese province of Gansu. The discovery was unusual as most fossil footprints are found on exposed earth and hence are not as well preserved as these. The giant footprints, originally hidden 50 meters underground, were unearthed after a 6-month effort. Each of the larger prints is over 1 meter in length. Scientists believe they may belong to dinosaurs which lived during the Jurassic or Cretaceous periods. The smaller prints could be those of some ancient ancestors of today's birds. Chinese scientists are working to extract as much information as they can from the fossils. Well, there's sports news still to come. Stay tuned. And it's time for some sports news on Channel News Asia tonight. And this year's UEFA competition could see an all-Spanish final. Barcelona have drawn to play English Premiership side Liverpool in the first semi-final, while Alaves will meet Germany's Kaiserslautern in the other. Barcelona booked their place in the last 4 on Thursday, thanks to 2 goals from Brazilian Rivaldo. Despite their 3-2 defeat against Celta Vigo, the away goals rule ensured the Spanish side went through on aggregate. They joined Alaves, Kaiserslautern and Liverpool in the semi-finals. 2 first-half goals from Danny Murphy and Michael Owen helped Liverpool beat Portugal's FC Porto 2-0 at Anfield.
It was a chance for 2 European champions to relive former glories. On the home side, Steven Gerrard and Michael Owen went close in the opening minutes. Owen was a constant threat throughout, but Liverpool's opening goal came from an unexpected quarter. Porto had a chance to strike back, but Sander Westerveld was quick to smother the chance. Moments later, Porto failed to clear a Liverpool corner and Michael Owen popped up to score his first ever European goal at Anfield. Porto became more desperate. Clayton shot again but couldn't get past Westerveld. And in the last minutes, Porto tried again. The Portuguese stuck to their task but never really looked like they were coming back into the game. Liverpool has already won the lesser of the 2 domestic cup competitions in England. They are through to the semi-finals in the FA Cup and are now in the last 4 of the UEFA Cup.
In the other UEFA showdown, Barcelona met Celta Vigo at the latter's home ground on Thursday, hoping to improve on their narrow win last week. Although Celta had the first opportunity 12 minutes into the game to put a goal on the scoreboard, Cantona's shot went wide. A reprieve for Barcelona, which took the chance through this pass from Marc Overmars to score a 29th-minute goal when Rivaldo netted this opportunity. But Celta's response was quick, leveling the score with Cantona right on target in the 34th minute. But 2 minutes after half-time and the visitors regained the lead through Rivaldo. Celta's chance to equalise came when they were awarded a penalty when Patrick Kluivert was judged to have fouled Alexander Mostovoy inside the area as both players went for a cross. Gustavo Lopez made no mistake in setting the score at 2-2. But Celta won the game 3-2 when Mostovoy scored in injury time. Barcelona, though, had the last laugh because their aggregate score of 4-4 means that Barca now go through to the semi-finals.
And next, basketball and the NBA. The New York Knicks ended a 6-game regular season losing streak against the Toronto Raptors in an 82-72 win at Madison Square Garden on Thursday night. The win also halted the Raptors' sweep of the 4-game season series. Kurt Thomas scored 22 points, Lateral Sprewell had 21, and Mark Jackson 11 for the Knicks.
Toronto had a dismal start to the game. Vince Carter banged his knees into Kurt Thomas early in the first quarter and had to be helped off the court. The second quarter saw lateral Sproul earning 2 points for the Knicks, while Toronto's Antonio Davis kept Toronto close at 45-42. In the third, Carter's basket put the score at 52-55, while the Knicks led 60-52 with Mark Jackson's three-pointer. It was followed moments later by a nifty behind-the-back pass to Thomas for a three-point play. With minutes remaining on the clock, the Knicks held on at 79-68 and went on to demolish Toronto 88-72. And finally, the winner of Australia's most coveted art prize has been announced. Channel News Asia's correspondent Melissa Hing takes a look at the spirit behind the $35,000 award, which this year went to Nicholas Harding for his painting of Australian actor John Bell as King Lear.
It is Australia's best-known and arguably most prestigious art award. The Archibald Prize for Portraiture was set up 80 years ago as a salute to great Australians. Indeed, famous and not-so-famous subjects have been captured on canvas over the decades by an equally eclectic group of artists. This year alone, 638 entries vied for 31 spots in the finals.
And you look around here, you've got people from the media, from entertainment, writers, painters. They're the new heroes, if you like. They're the new nobility of our society. And because it has to be painted in the previous 12 months, it is always topical. And it is always depicting people that we all know of, or know. And therefore, people love it, because it's all about sort of perving and looking at what artists are making of our current notables.
But despite being pilloried in elite art circles, the award continues to capture the imagination of Australians. Almost as coveted and certainly as widely covered as the Archibald Prize is the infamous Packing Room Prize, the award given to the best painting as voted on by the packing room staff, those burly beer-loving men who unpack the crates and hang the artwork. There are at least 8 main packing staffers at the New South Wales Gallery, but in a process that's unashamedly undemocratic and open to flattery and bribery, Steve Peters, the boss, gets the final say.
It's judged by all the packers that unpacked the Archibald and who received the Archibald all last week, when they were coming in from all over Australia, all over Sydney actually. And if anyone sees one that they like, we usually sing out, we usually have a look at it that night. It takes about 5 seconds to look at. And that's how we pick. Just something quickly that we like and it's recognisable.
Never has the Packing Room Prize coincided with the main judge's decision, a fact that has surprised no one. This year's winner is Paul Newton for his portrait of comedic duo Roy and HG, whose nightly satire during the Olympic Games brought laughs to the country and obviously to the guys in the packing room as well. Melissa Hing, Channel News Asia, Sydney.
Well, and that's the latest on Channel News Asia tonight. You can keep track of the news real-time online at channelnewsasia.com. I'm Shankar Ryan. Have a good evening.
Channel News Asia, a network of MediaCorp News. With the most number of roaming partners worldwide, Singtel Mobile is everywhere you are.